I wanna be your I got the windows rolled down, got the radio up, and I'm heading out of Vegas tonight. And it's a 1:30 on a 4-day run, and the desert is a welcome sight. I can see you there in that dress you wear, and it's keeping my foot on the gas. I drink a gallon of Joe just to make it back home and hold you in my arms at last.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers found sometime last week has been inspected in Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the K-Ghost Radio Network and its website are those of the host, guest, and participants, and they are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcast, management, or advertisers of the network. The show is found under LJA Broadcasting Network. UFO Talk Radio can, but does not necessarily promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and they are not intended to treat or diagnose and/or claim to cure any disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. All music is purchased and owned by LJA Broadcasting.
Some fun right along with us. From the desert of Nevada. Welcome to the Glenn Leary Show. Now, broadcasting live from deep in the desert of Nevada, K-Ghost Radio presents UFOTalkRadio.com with your host, Larry Glenn Anderson, Glenn Larry.
Hello and welcome everybody, all my friends and friends from all over the world, from deep and high in the desert of Nevada and a great American Southwest. I am Glenn Larry, and welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be from, or wherever you're listening from, for God's sake. I want to say hello to my small broadcasters out there and affiliates out there. Hello, and thank you kindly. Also the shortwave radio, internet stations, 73 ham operators out there, and to the silent key, William 60 Baker. Thank you very much. And to KPFF, Pahrump, Nevada, FM channel up there, doing very well. Great listeners up there. Thank you kindly. And KBHR 57 AM, Siskiyou, Alaska. We do thank you so much. And from all the world, thank you for tuning in. A lot of new people tonight. They're listening, and I want to thank you so much. A big shout out to Creekside Diner. I was out there in Pennsylvania. They're out there on Kent Square, I believe, and had a great time. Talked with everybody over there. Had a great meal. If you get a chance to go by there, say hello to Karen. She supports a lot of the first responders, fire and police, and EMS. So we thank them kindly for that. And to the station out there, station 23, saying hello to Chief Hall, Avondale, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much. Into 78 and 87 and 77 of Clark County. We thank you also. All the nurses and doctors and emergency staff and tech out there helping everybody, doing the best they can. I mean, for these people to put their lives on the line for us and for emergencies that happen, my gosh, without them, we have nothing. That's right. We love you very much. Thank you kindly. How was your 4th of July? Did you guys have a good time? I had a blast. I'm telling you, my little town here, Good Springs, Nevada. We had our first celebration, 4th of July get-together. Oh, I know they did it years ago, but it was for my time. It's our first, but we had a great time. And all the children out in the park and no masks. Fantastic. We're free at last, right? Our independence. Or may I say. Oh, yeah, it was a great 4th. And I hope you had a great 4th also. Little updates today going on. As I understand, there's more sightings of UFOs out there. We have our special guest coming on, Mr. Earl Grey of Mufon out of California. Assistant director, I would understand. We'll get more about that information from him. Fascinating man. Fascinating stories. And what he has to offer, it's going to be a lot of fun tonight, I'll tell you. Also, there's been a sighting of 85 last week of UFOs. And it's climbing. How about that? Have you seen a UFO? What were your experiences? I'll let you call in later on. I'm about 45 after the hour, and we'll take calls. But we're going to have our guest on very soon. I want to thank you for listening, and we're going to go to commercial. We have to do the PSAs. Oh, yes.
Violence, theft, drugs, graffiti. It's all part of joining a gang. In times like these, we need to protect our children and our community from gangs. Gangs often prey on unsupervised teens with low self-esteem, who perform poorly in school, who seek a sense of belonging, or are simply bored. Joining a gang often involves violent hazing rituals. Once in a gang, members can become alienated from their families, school, and friends. Drugs, guns, and malicious activity are common elements in gangs. Trying to leave a gang can be a difficult and dangerous process. The best way to get out of a gang is never to join one. Protect kids from being recruited by a gang. Know who they're hanging out with. Involve kids in after-school activities and provide positive role models. Help reduce gang activities in your community by working with local law enforcement and school systems. Don't let a kid you know get involved with gangs. Visit ncpc.org to learn more or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
We are back. Yes. My special guest tonight is Earl Grey Anderson, but he goes by Earl Grey. And he is the of the southern California, field investigator for Mufon, and does a lot more than just that. And I would like to welcome on our show right now. Earl, you with us?
Yeah, how are you doing there? Good to be with you here tonight.
Gosh, I hope I did that well. I don't know. Got a lot of stuff.
You did great.
A lot of stuff.
You did great. I know. My name, is Earl Grey. Was actually, I'm a musician.
Yes.
So everybody knows me as Earl Grey. I sort of, went with my actual first name is Earl, and my actual last name is Anderson. But back in the 80s, I was playing out here in Los Angeles, doing my own original music, and musicians are kind of a dime a dozen out here. It's just being honest, there's a lot of it, So people they would get my name. It was just kind of vanilla, Earl Anderson. There's another R&B singer called. There's one guy called Carl Anderson who did he was Judas, Jesus Christ Superstar. There's another guy. They kept messing up names on marquees and things. So I went with Earl Grey because it was fun. It was the T. I figure, I'll get free advertising in every coffee house.
I have the name Anderson. The name Anderson, of course. I have several people that are in the radio business. That. Yes, we do.
It's like Smith and Jones.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
So, but here I am, all these years later, and I started working for Mufon a little over 6 years ago.
Great.
As a field investigator, and so I kind of worked my actual last name back in there, just because some people they thought that maybe it was an actual gray alien that was calling them up, to talk about their UFO thing. Yeah. And if you've had a close encounter, you maybe don't want to meet another gray alien.
No, you do not. Let me ask
there you go.
Let me ask you this, my friend. what got you started in all this? I had several people on that have been with Mufon, but I'm asking you, what really turned your juices on about that?
I'm sort of I'm a secondhand person here. My mom is who I found out about the phenomenon through.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know that you read a little bit, but you told me about my mom.
Mm-hmm.
My mom worked for Hughes Aircraft back in the 1950s. She actually worked as one of Howard Hughes' two private secretaries. Now, this means she had an office next to his.
Mm-hmm.
There was another woman that was working with him as well, because he didn't do any face-to-face stuff with people. He was very, very particular about, he was a germaphobe. He would have done really well with the last year and a half with the masks and the social distancing and all that.
I would have fit
Because
in.
he was doing that back in the,
Yeah.
50s,
Right.
late 40s, 1950s.
Yeah.
So, but he would communicate via I can't say it, the little communication system like they would use in Charlie's Angels, right? Intercom.
Yeah, intercom, the old desk intercom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Little square
the old
box.
Intercom on the desk.
You push
Yeah.
that button and there you were
So-
talking. Yeah.
And my mom, he got her out to do a lot of, she did a lot of stenography for him. So she had high security clearances because, he was one of the original private contractors that was working with the military.
Yes, he was. In fact, I mentioned to you I worked for General Motors at the time, which was Delco Hughes. Became part of that back in the day, but that's your mother's way before that. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead. That's
okay. Well, she, as most people know, Hughes made his fortune with a better drill bit. That's kind of where his fortune came into the equation. And my mom was telling me of this strange story when I was a little kid. When I was like 5 years old, she talked about working in a deep underground base. She said it was in the middle of the desert. She said that, a security detail took her out there the first time, that there was an elevator in the middle of nowhere, and it took her down to this place that was below the desert floor, quite significantly below the desert floor, and that Hughes had a laboratory in what was pretty much a city under the desert.
Wow.
She said they had a bowling alley, they had restaurants, they had these little, like a French cafe with yellow umbrellas over the tables. And my mom would laugh. She'd talk about it and say, well, you don't need an umbrella in a cave. And it always struck her as this funny thing. But they were trying to keep people
feeling home.
They were feeling comfortable.
Yeah, that they're home. Yeah.
So that was one of the things my mom talked about. And she also talked with authority about aliens. My mom said that that we were not alone and that the government knew this. So I grew up with this little bit of knowledge that and everything around my mom supported. She her best friend had worked for the Rand Corporation, which was originally a part of Hughes.
Yeah.
They're known for working with the Army Corps of Engineers, but they built all our underground facilities and tunnels and all that good stuff. So this is what I grew up hearing, and I knew that my mom eventually, later on in life, she had to go back to work, and she worked as a headhunter, a corporate headhunter for aerospace, for Lockheed and Northrop, and the guys you're talking about that you work for. It's like Rockwell. She kind of single-handedly populated the Rockwell Science Center in Thousand Oaks, California, down to the broom pushers and to the scientists as well. So that was where my interest originally came from, was my mom's strange stories about we're not alone. And
with that, she was at the ranch at Area 51, do you think? Or was it another facility?
She never said. She was very careful about, she never talked about working in an underground base and aliens in the same sentence. Later on, after I read, I started reading things a little bit later on in my life, like, the day after Roswell, Corso's account and things like that. And certain things were very familiar to what my mom had been talking about back
Right.
like 1963 when she was talking with me. And I mean, you know, there were no books written about that when my mom was talking about this. So
Right.
definitely my antennae went up. You know, I was
Yes.
like very, very interesting when I found this stuff out. It added credence to what was, I mean, I never questioned my mom with what she was saying.
What did
her
your
life
father,
kind of,
what did your father think about all that? What did your father think about all
he
that?
would laugh. He would
What
laugh at it a bit. He felt uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
He was a very religious man, and I don't think his world had room for aliens as well as Jesus. So he kind of lived with it.
I know several families that have gone through that, and I'll tell you, one bleeds the other. And well, towards the ends of their lives, they seem to agree. Pretty interesting how that happens as we get older. But your mother had a great, oh, what a great life she had, and what great stories she could only give to you in so many ways, bits and pieces, of course, and probably helping that thinking you would never remember it or what have you. But yeah. So
she thought that I was never going to remember what she told me. And to her horror, in fourth grade, I was like 10 years old, and we did sort of a show and tell thing, what your parents do. I talked about my dad's landscape contractor work, and then I talked about what my mom used to do. And the teacher put together a parent-teacher conference with my mom because I was obviously telling stories.
Yeah.
And
they're big whoppers to them.
Yeah, that was the first time where my mom kind of got, she got down low and talked to me eye to eye and said, you know, son, it's not your fault. I never told you anything about this, but people don't know about what I did.
Right.
They don't know that this stuff exists.
Right.
You'll get your mother into trouble. I wasn't supposed to talk. I didn't think you would remember it when I told you. I thought you were young enough that I could, because I guess that she had a burning desire to talk with somebody about it.
Oh, of course. It's hard to keep such a secret like that. And they've done so much. And, you know, I'm sure she got many pats in the back from the people she worked with, but with people that maybe you could communicate with. And, you know, I can see her out, her releasing all that. I can see that. I really can. It's,
you know, she kept her security clearances.
Great.
All I know is that, you know, to the day, my ex-mother-in-law, she wanted to work for the FBI, and she needed security clearance. She had been divorced.
Wow.
It said, you know, my daughter was telling me that your mom had security clearances, you know, and I was wondering if she could help me attain the same kind of thing. I don't even know what to do, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah. And so my mom made a couple of phone calls, and I'll never forget, because there wasn't always a lot of stuff where the rubber met the road with my mom's stories, other than just when she was on the phone talking with different contractors and stuff, you know. Well, this was a situation where I got a phone call back from my ex-mother-in-law, and she said, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Earl. Your mom worked this out for me. And I have an interview with the FBI, and she actually wound up working for them.
Oh, great!
Until she retired a few years back. You know,
they used to send out field investigators that would interview people, and you know, in this whole series of top secret, it first starts at confidential, and then it goes to secret, then top secret, then they start having encrypting and other stuff, then it goes to numbers and what have you. But yeah, it's an interesting process that they have to go through to get that clearance. And I've had several myself, but I don't need them anymore. I'm just doing radio. And I'll tell you what.
I never needed them. I was a musician, and I worked as a nurse, and now I'm a Mufon field investigator, but I'm trying to uncover secrets, not keep them.
Exactly.
So, I'm the opposite.
Let's go into that now about Mufon. They've been around this for since 1969, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
doing the Air Force's job since they closed Project Blue Book.
Exactly.
And then we took over. Now.
And it is the most it's I think the only really investigated professional group out there that really looks at it as a science and other things as investigation.
It's the scientific study. Our creed is the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humankind, and I think that's a really good creed to have.
Great.
I can certainly go with that.
Yeah. Oh, I can too. So
what I love about Mufon, it's certainly not a perfect organization. There's no such thing in the world, but it is a nonprofit.
Yeah.
It is regional. They do allow us to, as long as we're sticking with the Field Investigator's Handbook, which is pretty much based on J. Allen Hynek's work.
Yes.
The way that he would go and investigate a case is the way that we do it. They let us kind of keep our own style. So California may be different than, say, Illinois or Washington, or we get to be ourselves in this. They don't force us to see the phenomenon in a certain way. There's some people that are more nuts and bolts than others about it. And other people are more kind of new agey in their thoughts. I think I'm probably sort of in the middle there. I started out very nuts and bolts, but as I work as a member also of MUFON's the ERT, the Experiencer Resource Team. I've worked with Kathleen Martin and George Medich and those wonderful people there, and we're kind of the tip of the spear as far as working with the experiencer phenomenon goes.
That's great.
And I definitely seen a change in my philosophy, the way that I approach it. I'm more like in Jacques Vallée's camp,
Right.
as far as the way I see things.
So are you also communicating with all the different investigators all over the United States?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I deal with people from all over. And recently I've been asked to do a PowerPoint presentation for a lot of the different MUFON groups, which is wonderful. I mean, I love getting to do that. It's such an honor.
Yes.
Considering, I was on the outside looking in just, a little over 6 years ago, and MUFON was, I saw it as this is what I need to do. I remember my mom told me once, she said, the phenomenon is realer than you will ever know. They are never going to tell the public. And you're never going to know how real it is. And she just kind of said that, as a true statement. And I kind of wanted to prove that wrong, that I could know through my own investigatory skills and was working with it. And I kind of had to throw myself at this phenomenon, and I work at it like a regular 9-to-5 job, but I do feel like I do know. That, it's not like I want to believe. I know. Yeah, it's become that clear and that obvious that we live with this phenomenon in our world. It's part and parcel of humanity.
We got nothing out of this 9-page report, so-called disclosure, whatever have you. I had to laugh. It actually made me mad, but that's another story. But it's typical government, of course. They're not going to let you know so much. And if you do know so much, they're going to shut you down. Until the cat's out of the bag and they can't do anything else about it. That's like shows like ours that we have. But I had so many different people talk about UFOs. How many UFOs have you seen yourself?
I have personally seen 2 UFOs. I had a strange face-to-face with beings when I first started investigating the phenomenon, which wasn't something that I really, truly in my heart sought. But I did try the CE5 thing, and I sent that out, the message out in a meditative state where I want to meet you guys. I want to meet you. I was very naive about it. I didn't really say, I want to meet, the humanoid guys that aren't going to, mess with me.
Yeah, right.
I more or less just said, what am I, chopped liver? I want to be abducted. You can have my DNA, but I want to face to face. And I got that.
Oh, you did.
And it's a long story. I could, it would take the rest of our time together to talk about it. But
just give me this much.
Impression.
Give me a fast one here.
Yeah.
What did they look like?
They were grays. They were
Grays.
proverbial small grays. They were the worker bees.
The worker bees. Uh-huh.
Worker bees that and my wife had. We experienced the Oz effect in our house, where things became very quiet. The light, our house flooded with light, but it was more than just like somebody flicked on, a light bulb. It was like
So
a solid.
you sat in your
It's
living
different.
room. You sat down on yourself and you said, "Okay, I want to meet you guys." Oh, did you, I don't know. I know you didn't do it through a Ouija board or anything like that. I'm sure about that, but I mean, come on.
No.
Did you have to get into how did you do it?
Work. It was just one of the things I was doing. Well, I was meditating because
Okay.
I do meditation.
Okay. That's what
And
I'm
I
asking.
just I sent it out there like on
Yes.
on telepathic radio
level, exactly.
or whomever.
Yes.
And honestly, I didn't think it was going to work.
You sent it out to the universe.
Myself.
You sent it out.
Did,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
And it wasn't who I wanted to meet. It wasn't, it wasn't. I was hoping to, get a tour of a spaceship, and that's not what I got. They kind of got a tour of me. I mean, I had the paralysis. They took, blood and energy, and I don't know. I didn't get probed.
Now listen. Now once you've been visited, once you've done this, you're open to any time. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that the two sightings I had, I think were a part of this. I think that they open up a space where they can communicate with us.
Mm-hmm.
That something has to happen where there's an initiation that takes place. Now, some people will see the lights on the UFO and they'll talk about how that they were mesmerized by the lights.
Mm-hmm.
I've had so many cases, uncountable at this point, where I hear the same thing, where the UFO came close to us. I couldn't take my eyes off lights was a thing. Time became strange, and things became psychologically strange from that point on until when I woke up the next morning. And I'll hear this in conjunction with a UFO sightings more times than not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of changed my philosophy of what a UFO sighting is. I believe that people, when they see a UFO, that it's a contact experience. It's not just, they're not doing, air shows for giggles.
Yeah.
They're
the first kind.
There's a reason behind it.
Right.
But, I think that humanity, is being changed. I think they're trying to shift our view of what reality is. I think that we think in a Newtonian sense in so many things, where we think of the universe in a clockwork kind of scenario, and that it's the opposite, that it's more like Arthur C. Clarke. He said one of my favorite quotes. He said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Right.
And that's the realm that they work in. It's the quantum mechanics world, where things can appear and disappear. And a wave can become a particle and go back to a wave, depending on what the observer is expecting.
Now,
but it's interactive.
What is
interactive phenomenon?
What is very interesting when you have an experience like this, and there's others around you that experience the same thing. As if you're driving down a road and you see this UFO, now it's over your car, and you have less displacement of time, and you all of a sudden don't remember, but when you get home, you think you had a bad dream, but the people around you, maybe a neighbor looking out the window, had the same experience. And you go back that same place and you find the people around that area saw that. What happened to you happened to them. That's the most incredible thing. You get your stories together and you had the same
People
experience.
Don't share hallucinations.
Yeah.
They don't share dreams.
That's right. That's the real evidence, I think. Oh my gosh.
I agree.
I'm at the bottom, almost the bottom hour. We're going to go to commercial real fast, and I'm going to bring it right back. So stand by. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, my friend, stand by. Yes.
You ignore the signs, so you enable.
You don't want to sound like a hypocrite, so you enable.
You don't want to alienate your child, so you enable.
But if you think they're trying drugs, you shouldn't be afraid.
You are the parent.
So you are able.
You are strong.
So you are able.
There are others just like you.
so you are able.
And we can help, so you are able.
Get help at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America.
There's no typical meth user. I was from an upper middle class family. Meth is terribly addictive. My first time using it, I was hooked. There was no turning back. I lost my job. I was homeless. I never thought I'd see my family again. I have a great fear of meth because it took so much of me. I mean, it took everything. Meth took over my soul.
Visit our website at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America.
And we are back with Earl Grey Anderson of Mufon. And what a night we're having. You still with me, buddy?
Yeah,
That's good.
hello.
Good. And
I heard the thunderstorm there. I was starting to, We're the opposite, of course. I'm here in Southern California. We have the most vanilla weather in the world. More sunshine, Same old.
You had a big earthquake down there just recently.
We get them.
Yeah.
We get them.
My gosh. So now, with your experiences, now you've seen the Greys. And what was your other experience that was so good?
I had a sighting of, and I believe that it was meant to be a learning experience. The closest thing to a vehicle sighting that I have, was I was on my way to work. This happened about 3 years ago, and it was like, I don't know, it was about 7 a.m, and I saw something that wasn't supposed to be there. It was hovering over sort of an Ivy League prep school that's in town here where I live. I'm here in the San Fernando Valley. I could see this thing that was hovering there, and I didn't know what it was. At first, I thought it was probably maybe some of the students were trying to do a practical joke of the UFO.
Yeah.
Which was the first thought that I had. It looked like somebody had put together a bunch of shipping crates that weren't in really good condition. They were it was sort of rusted out looking, old looking. But they were sort of in this V shape, sort of loosely together. So, there's like a large rectangular shape in front, and then it's a boxy looking thing, but they were all connected to this sort of like this V shape.
Right.
And I'll say we have a lot of V-shaped craft sightings here in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I just closed another one that made the journal, the MUFON journal. They had it on their, on their. If you went to MUFON.com, that was the case that you saw.
I saw that on the website.
Yeah, we get a lot of those.
I see them.
I'm the guy that closes a lot of those. I mean, we had a field investigator who saw one, who was in an astronomy club at the LA City College, and it was himself and the professor and a bunch of other students on the roof of this college. They had celestrons and they had really good telescopes.
Right.
And they saw a V-shaped craft that it was one of the ones that people usually see with the little lights underneath it.
Yeah, the three lights on each side.
Perfectly V-shaped.
Right.
Yes. But the thing that I saw, it was that shape, but it was this shaky looking thing that it looked like, I mean, these guys weren't really hot at building spacecraft, if that's what this is.
Right.
It wasn't the Millennial Falcon, It was
Right.
It was very rusted out looking. But I'm looking at this and I'm looking for cables that I'm thinking, perhaps it maybe looks like it's very heavy, but they're using helium or something, or tethered some way to the power line.
Mm-hmm.
The closer that I got to it, it started doing strange things. It started foreshortening the way that I was looking at it. When I originally saw it, it looked like it might be 35 feet across. And the closer I got to it, it looked more and more distant, and it looked larger. And by the time I got right up next to it, like, say, 150 feet away,
right,
it looked like it was 2 miles away.
Uh-huh.
And it was the size of a couple of football fields
right,
that somebody put together.
Yeah.
Still looked like, like crud. It wasn't, it wasn't a really pretty looking UFO. It's certainly not,
but space battered.
Disc
Right.
But it was hanging there with no means of propulsion and no means of I couldn't see any kind of propellers or engines or
any
anything
sound.
going on.
No sound at all.
There was no sound at all.
Yeah.
And the closer I got, time got wonky and weird again.
Mm-hmm.
I recognized it from when we had our visit in our house.
Right.
Where things became strange, and I felt like psychologically I was being manipulated. The closer I got to it, I'm chief investigator of Southern California, right? This is a smoking gun of UFO.
Yes.
What would you do? You would grab your iPhone real quick. You'd stop your car. You'd get out. You would pace around whatever it was, or take whatever kind of photographs and video that you could get. Well, all I could think of was I was going to be late for work. I was going to lose my job. And it suddenly became this all-encompassing, important thing. And I drove away from it. I didn't even stop my car. I saw it. I got to, but now it looked like it was a couple miles away, and it was huge.
Yeah.
I kept on driving towards the freeway, and about maybe 2 minutes later, I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I just do? I need to be fired. I am the worst field investigator that ever lived.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I want to kick my own butt here.
Yeah. Understand.
But the more I thought about it, Glenn, the more I understood that, that when you see something like this, it's for your benefit, that it's put on. To show it's being put on for your benefit.
Exactly.
That you're being taught something.
Yes.
You're being shown something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a photo or you get a video, you're really, really lucky. I mean, the guys that got the Tic Tac videos, I don't think they would have gotten them if they weren't already running on those fighter jets.
Right.
Right?
I agree.
And they wouldn't have allowed them to get away with taking those videos if they weren't meant to have those. They were meant to show. I wasn't meant to show mine to the general public.
Right.
I get to talk about it, apparently.
Yeah.
Because I've done that a few times now, and I haven't been stopped. So I haven't had any knocks on the door, no men in black or anything.
Right.
So I feel like it was a learning experience, that I was being shown something about the phenomenon, that I was being shown something about, that when you see something anomalous like this, it's not about some hot rod from outer space.
Right.
It's not like they're here, collecting samples in a field, to look at under a microscope. It's about us. It's about something that they're trying to change in humanity, and the way that we see reality, the way that we approach reality.
Yes.
And that, and I keep on getting the same flashes over and over repetitively, that we live in a Newtonian mindset, which is quaint and archaic. It's like trying to run your iPhone off a floppy disk. It's not going to work.
No.
It's a quaint operating system.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that our visitors are trying to get us to see differently than that they're trying to pull the tablecloth out from under our dishes, but keep the dishes intact. They don't want society to crumble. They don't want people to do a rush for the bank.
Little by
but they
little.
want to slowly.
Little by little, yeah. I've seen several myself, and I've told folks in the air
I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. I'll make one real short. The biggest one ever. I've seen small crafts when I was a kid, and it developed through as growing up, getting older and older, of course. And I had seen, actually, I owned a security agency up in Washington on a golf course, and it was late 3 a.m. All the lights were out off the course, and the sky was big, full of like diamond rocks and the stars. You know what I'm saying? How nice it looked. And I looked up there and I go, this is beautiful. I noticed that, I'd say from the ground, if it took a newspaper and opened it up, it still would be bigger than that. A cutout into the stars. And these certain amount of stars are all moving slowly by themselves. And I says, this is odd. So I got someone from the clubhouse to come down and look at what I'm seeing. They go, that's just a bunch of stars. I said, look closely. And he goes, God, they're moving, but very slow. They're moving away from the other stars. Now, stars don't move like that. And we both said, yeah, this is the big mothership. And people have seen things like that. Just the small saucers are nothing compared to this. This is the hugest thing I've ever seen in my life. Huge. And but anyway,
I've heard the same story multiple times from other people.
Good.
So
yeah, I'm okay.
Yes. Well, you were meant to see that. That was for your benefit. You were chosen to see that.
I saw the saucer when I was a kid with my sister. I've seen the cigar-shaped thing going to work, actually going to the plant, and it disappeared into the mountains. I mean, just stopped in midair and then went into the mountain. It was unbelievable. Wow. And had portholes in it. I actually thought I saw some people in there. So what is that?
Wow.
Is it a time machine? Is it really UFOs? What is it? Had no wings, made no sound. It was just there. I said, what is that? As I'm coming around San Marcos Pass, and it just sat there, and it moved slowly and fast, and right in the mountain. No dust, no nothing. So that's incredible. But I mean,
when you see something, you know what you're looking at.
You do know.
You know.
I just wish I had a neighbor who could have been with me or somebody in the car to see that too, because it was so unbelievable, so close. And it was gray, didn't look shiny, looked pretty rough, to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And it just sat there and then in the mountain with no dust, no nothing. I even called the Air Force. I got the same thing on radar, Vandenberg, I chucked to them, knew nothing. Yeah.
They might have seen it, and they may have known all about it, or maybe not. I mean, it may have just been for you.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I think they'll take us and they will put us into this little in between place. They'll create like a little bubble in the universe where you get to see stuff. Otherwise, I mean, now it's like when Lisa and I, my wife and I, when we had our strange week after I had my face-to-face, there were a couple other nights where our house flooded with light again. And the second time, it shook me awake. The first time she didn't believe me. She thought that I had a mental breakdown, which was significant. It's like, you don't want your husband to have a mental breakdown,
Yeah.
But the second night she shook me awake, and she saw the same thing. She saw the light, and our room was still flooded with light, and it had no source.
Yeah.
It wasn't coming from the window. It wasn't coming through the walls. It was like somebody had poured it into our bedroom,
Right.
And so she's like pacing back and forth and saying, you need to tell your little friends they need to leave us alone, and that, I already have insomnia as it is. But the third night, it was like 2 nights after that, we both woke up to our room being flooded with light again. And this time it was coming through the window as well. And we ran to the window and we looked up, and you could see it was actually shining down this time on our house.
Right.
And the neighbors were flicking their porch lights on. The other people were acknowledging that something was up.
Right.
But it was too bright. You couldn't see what the source of the light was. There was no noise. So it wasn't a police helicopter.
No.
This is downtown. This is Burbank.
Right.
We were on the bike path area, where the Chandler bike path is in Burbank. It's a very populated area. So I imagine that either, perhaps they created like this little, maybe a block area where people could see this light, just so that we knew we weren't the only ones, that neighbors are flicking their porch lights on.
That's great. That's great.
But I think but I feel like they can create like a space where this stuff can go on. And this is why, you'll have like a family that'll see like this, like a mothership, and nobody else will see it or report it.
Right.
Yeah.
God, that's so well said. And I've heard this before.
For everybody else.
Yeah. You got the fireworks and they got nothing. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So from here, you're doing these investigations, and what's the most? I'm gonna open up to callers real soon, but I want to get a couple more stories out of you, if you would. I'd ask and plead with you to give me the best of the best.
I've got some amazing cases. I have one that will be presented at the symposium at the end of August in Las Vegas. I was honored when I heard that they chose it as one of the 5 best UFO sightings of the year.
This is in August now.
There was a sighting,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It'll be August
20.
The symposium is 27th to the 29th.
20th, yeah.
And will be this will be presented. It'll be the last event of the weekend on the 29th. I'll be going up and giving a PowerPoint presentation on the sighting.
I'll be there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I'll get to meet you.
We'll have to do dinner and drinks. And
you
that's
betcha.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin Day's going to be there. A lot of people are going to be there.
Okay, maybe Sean and those other people I know of. Yeah, I'd love to meet them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is what we do, for God's sake. I mean, we're radio, and
it'll be fun.
UFO Talk Radio. It's just
talking about this. But let me try to get through this one sighting that they're going to be presenting.
Yeah.
That it was a clinical psychologist and her adult son. They were driving home from she picked him up from something. She was coming home from work, and they saw a V-shaped craft that was hovering over this grammar school.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it was the proverbial V-shaped thing that's like 40 feet long, had lights on the underside of it. It was gunmetal gray colored, and it had this weird cloud-like thing in the very front of it, where you'd think that it would come to a point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the first time I've heard this. I've had other people tell me the same thing. Oh, there was like a cloud effect that was around this thing, around the front of it. Some people will see the cloud effect around the whole object, and perhaps this is, camouflage of some kind. But they wanted to be seen. This thing wanted to be seen because the closer that she drove to this, again, she said time became very strange.
Yes, I know that.
Sound, everything became quiet. You couldn't hear any traffic noises. There was some kind of a shift that happened. And she said that this object intentionally, she felt, flipped over so that she and her son could see the flashing lights on the underside. And they saw these bright flashing lights. And that put them into this different mindset, put them into this other state.
Hypnotic.
Like a hypnagogic state. Yeah.
Yeah, hypnotic, yeah.
It flipped back over, so the lights again were just shining on the ground. And they watched this thing turn around, and it just flew like, la-di-da,
Yeah, wow.
5 o'clock in the evening, and we're coming home from abducting people or whatever they were doing.
Right.
They watched it going rooftop level, just slowly off into the vanishing point. So neither of them say anything to each other, and you hear this over and over again. It's almost like, we can't talk about this.
Right.
They drive home. She parks in the driveway, and she said that it took everything within her to turn around and ask her son, "Did you see that?" And he said, "Oh my God, did I see that? course I saw it. What the hell was that? You know?
Oh gosh, yeah.
After they saw this thing, now her husband's a medical doctor, and they actually have they're very, very well known in their community. They're like pillars in their community. They actually have like a mental health group that they yeah.
Whoa.
and I'm not going to go into
Ron,
it.
I get that. I get all that.
Because, yeah, I don't want
The
anybody
simplicity
to
of
know
all
who
that,
we
yeah.
are, because it could ruin their career.
Oh, of course.
People think they're nuts.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
she started getting taken at night. She would have scoop marks taken out from the back of her neck.
Oh, wow.
Her night clothes would be put on backwards and differently, or cut off.
Yeah.
Her, like mechanically, you know.
Right.
And we have photographs, you know, of you know, the scoop marks and the different stuff.
Right.
Where she would start the evening off, you know, where they'd fall asleep, and then she would be in the kitchen when she would come to. The husband is paralyzed. He said that he could tell when they were taking her, but that he couldn't move. He was paralyzed.
Oh.
They paralyzed him. The wife talks about praying mantis looking like aliens.
Really?
That seemed to be in charge. And the taller grays that were also sort of in charge, and then the little small grays who were like the worker bees that were, you know, all about, you know, doing the job.
Right.
And this is an ongoing case. It's still going on. The son is terrorized. For him, he doesn't even want to talk about it. We talked about it as long as he could talk about it.
Oh, gosh.
You know, I've interviewed him a couple times,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He's hoping that it ignores him. Phenomenon.
Wow.
The wife, amazingly, is not terrorized by it. She feels like that it's serving some purpose that's important. The husband is strangely at peace with everything that's going on.
Right.
They both continue to have their medical practices.
Good.
Very visible in their community, so I can't even tell you what community it is.
Don't worry about that. That's fine.
You know, Southern California.
Yeah, just
so
to hear
was
that.
My best case of the last year.
Wow.
Although there was another one that's pretty close.
Go ahead.
There's another one that's
If we go over, we go over. I own the station. Go ahead, my friend.
But that's the one I've got for you right now.
That's good.
You want to hear the other one?
Yes, I do. And my audience does too.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, there's another case I closed recently that was another situation where it was a mom and her 3 sons.
Yeah.
This was a historical case that happened back in the 1970s, but none of them talked about it until now. And they finally all went on record, including the mother, who's in her 80s now. The 3 sons are very different from each other. One is a scientist. One is drives a fuel truck for Rocketdyne, and you know, like I'm not even sure what aerospace company he's working for. I didn't want to know, right? But and then the other brother has nothing to do with aerospace, but he remembers the whole thing. It was Christmas Eve. It was after a Christmas Eve party in 1975. It was midnight. They're coming home from a party at their cousin's house when they're sitting at this red light. The 10-year-old brother is sitting up front with mom. He's the eldest. And they see this very, very bright light towards the right-hand side of the windshield. He's pointing at it. He's going, "What is that? It's not an airplane, is it? It's really, really bright." And mom's looking at it. She's going, "I don't know. I don't know what it is." They see 2 other lights appear next to it. Now it's the light that's in the middle. The other 2 lights become very, very bright. The red light is not changing to green. It's been taking a long time for this light to change. Suddenly, the light that was in the middle of these 3 objects shoots down to where they are, and it's a classic flying saucer shape. It's a creamy silver flying saucer. It has red, green, and blue lights that are spinning around the bottom of it that look like they were torn off a carnival ride. They're the big, oversized lights that you see on a carnival ride.
Right.
But they're spinning around the bottom of this thing. hanging there with no visible means of support or propulsion. I don't believe there were windows on this thing, but it did have a cupola on top. Now, the mom is watching this, and when I spoke with her, I spoke with the eldest son first. He's just like, we sat on this siding for all these years because, we didn't want people to think we were crazy. We talked about this since it happened. We talk about it. Every time we get together, it comes up, the UFO. But now that these reports are coming in from the Navy, they feel comfortable talking about it.
Oh, good.
So the mom said that she was transfixed by this object. She couldn't take her eyes off it, except she was worried about her sons. She was worried about how long this red light was going to take because they're still sitting there looking at this object.
Right.
Time became weird. They can't hear sound outside of their car. There's no traffic sound or no sound at all coming from outside of the car. The one son points to this guy who's walking across the crosswalk. He has a leg extended, and it's hanging there in midair. Like this guy is standing like a stork on one leg. And it's like, how does it look? What's that guy doing? So time has appeared to have stopped outside of their car.
Oh, my
So the only movement in the universe was the light spinning around the bottom of this UFO and what was going on in the car. Well, there are three sons that are getting agitated and wondering what the heck is going on.
Scared and oh my God.
So she's getting worried. She's worried that the light's going to change to red and she's going to be sitting there and somebody's going to crash into their car. She's thinking of stuff like that. She said, if it worked for my sons, I would have, take me. This is the way that she felt. She wanted to go with them. The light suddenly turns green. When the light turns green, they notice that the object is back up there with the other two lights that were lesser lights.
Yeah.
It was still bright, but it was still hanging there. They could still see the circling light spinning on its underside. She said that she started driving, and that was the end of their experience, as far as they know. As far as how long this took, the mom is not sure. She said it could have been hours, it could have been minutes. She said time got very, very strange.
Right.
When we had this sighting. That's my second best sighting of the last year.
My gosh. You're going to be a busy man this year, baby. I mean, these keep coming in like
what
this.
Was that?
You're going to be a busy man, I'm telling you. They keep coming in like
this.
Oh,
I'm always busy.
Yeah.
95% of the stuff that comes in, it's like today I got, like, somebody took a video of some gold party balloons that were tethered together and were flying up. It's like, yeah, those are Mylar party balloons.
Yeah.
I'll get drone reports. I get Chinese lanterns. I get intentional hoaxes. I'll even get people that do CGI that try to fool Mufon. That's like the new thing is that, people with CGI courses in college will try to fool us,
Holograms,
but,
yeah, projections.
But with all this stuff, it still kind of comes down to J. Allen Hynek's 5% interesting.
Right,
is what we find.
Right. My gosh. Earl Grey, man, I want to.
Any of you guys see anything?
Yeah.
Mufon.com.
There it is.
That's where you report it. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you that. Not to be afraid. Just give it all.
Do it.
One
seeing them.
Believe me. Trust me, folks. I've seen several.
Doctors, scientists, psychologists.
Lawyers, police officers, you name it.
Yes.
Gosh.
Police officers. I have so many police officer cases. It's crazy, but they're wonderful witnesses because they, just the facts, man, and that's what we get.
Credibility too. Now, what if someone sees one and let's say their past is not the best, but they actually saw. I mean, you're going to get your story also to be a truth or whatever. You do investigation, of course, and you look at it and what it to be is what it is, right?
Yes, I give everybody I approach every one of these cases with gratitude and in an honorable and way, you know. Because some of the craziest cases that have come in have wound up being some of my very best cases. Lights in the sky are there's so many people that see lights in the sky,
Yes.
usually a drone or whatever,
Right.
unless it shoots out of the atmosphere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Earl, we're going to be right back, okay? Hang in there. Stay with me, okay?
Sure.
We're going to have a couple more stories. Stand by.
To call UFO Talk Radio, the Glenn Larry Show, deep in the dark desert of Nevada, call 702-874-1114. North of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. West of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. And south of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. And east of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. First time callers, call 702-874-1114. And if you just want to talk to the Glenn Larry Show, call 702-874-1114.
I think you guys got that number by now. My goodness. I'm with Earl Grey Anderson of Mufon, field investigator, and much more. Gosh, Earl, what is your next story? Give me one more, my friend, please.
Sure.
I love it.
Let's see here. I have one case here. And, you know, contact cases, they sort of run the gamut. I know that some people that I know, love, and respect want this phenomena to be all benevolent, right? You know, E.T. phone home, Reese's Pieces and flowers, and there are other people that want it to be all malevolent, and you know, the aliens or demons, you know, just what the Bible called demons were actually our aliens, and you know, and people out there get real dicey when somebody goes against their feelings or their particular attitude about the phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
But I find that it runs the gamut. I think that we're being visited by different entities with different motives. I do think that they aren't allowed to do whatever they want. I think somebody's in charge here.
Right.
That there's some oversight that's going on to where they can't just, you know, murder us at random and do, you know, so you know, there's certain stuff like where, you know, if this is an alien invasion, it's a pretty poor one.
Earl, we do have a caller, okay? So let's open that line up. Go ahead, caller. Well, he just hung up. We lost him. That's okay. We're getting our stories. That's what you find.
Well, let me bring up this one case.
Okay. Yeah. Callers, hang in there.
59018.
Right.
This is a guy who's a Marine who was working. He was at one of the major Marine bases in California. It's another historical case, but it's a really good one. The whole family is involved. I've spoken with the whole family as well as the main witness. This happened back in the 1970s, late 1970s. He said, I was at a group party with a couple of guys from work, which means from his base.
Right.
I was a Marine with the United States Marines, and we finished up doing what we were doing. We were at a party. They were playing with a Ouija board, and I don't agree with that as I'm a Christian. It was on a Friday night. I had a 20-mile ride back to base. So I got into my 66 Ford Satellite, which was kind of a guy. As I was driving, I heard a voice. It was plain as day. I needed to lie down, that I needed to go back to the base. I needed to go to sleep. This voice kept going in and out. At first, I thought it was something on the radio. That's how prominent it was. I had the radio playing in my car. The weird thing of it was I saw something. It was a strange light coming from out in the orchard that I was passing. There were electric tendrils of light, sort of like you would see with a Tesla coil. This electricity was coming out, originally from outside of my car. I stopped my car, and the same thing started happening with my dashboard. It was everywhere. I couldn't figure out what was going on. The car was slowing down by itself. It was slowing way down and it stopped in the middle of the road and it would start up again. I jumped out of the thing. I was saying a few words, maybe a lot of words. I popped the hood. I looked in there with a flashlight. I looked at the wires. I tried tightening things, but I couldn't figure out what was wrong. This took about a half an hour. I got back in the car. It started right back up. I put the tools away and drove back to the base. The voice returned and told me to lie down. So I did. I got back to my barracks. It was just me. Everybody else was out. It was Friday night. Only my friend Ralph was there. So I went to bed, and my buddy asked me why I was going to bed so early. I went to bed with my clothes on the top rack, covered myself with a blanket. As soon as I covered myself, maybe 15 minutes later, I felt like I was pulled up to and then through the ceiling. It was the strangest sensation I've ever experienced. It was very physical, not my mind drifting off or anything like that. I wound up in something odd like a dentist's office, except it was all metallic and smooth. There was something that looked like a garage door, but it went sideways. It was on its side. It opened up sideways like an accordion. It rolled backwards like that. Something put its hands on my shoulder. I was standing in an upright position. Something touched me with something else, and I was shocked, and I was paralyzed. I could only move my eyes and my voice. I heard a voice that said, "We have control over you." I was being looked at, stared at. There were a bunch of eyes looking at me. There was something behind me that was taller than me. At first, I thought it was the devil because we had been playing with the Ouija board, but later I realized that this was something way beyond anything that we understood. The voice was in my head. The creatures had very tiny mouths like slits. The voice said, "We have total control of your body. We can make you do whatever we need you to do." I told them, "No, you can't," when all of a sudden I lost all control of myself. They left me standing in a standing position on some kind of a table or restraint, but I was standing straight up. The tall creature behind me had a hand on each shoulder. I tried to turn to see what he looked like, and he said, "Don't try it." I was being poked with different things when all of a sudden it said, "We will now control your mind." Everything went dead, my arms, my legs. It sounded like he was speaking English to me, but I don't think they were speaking in the language. It was mind to mind. The thing said, "We've taken your mind and your body, and now we're going to take your soul." As soon as he said that, well, I was a born-again Christian. That's why I left when the guys were starting to play with the Ouija board.
Right.
So in my mind, I started yelling at this thing, "No, you can't have my soul. My soul belongs to God."
Good.
I started praying and praying. The thing said that he was going to take my soul, but I knew that he meant my inner self. They wanted to own me forever. So I fought in my mind. I fought that. They wanted to put my inner self into containment of some kind, and I wasn't having any of that. So I fought for my life. I fought for my soul. I was trying to turn my head so I could see the creature, the big creature who was in charge, who was behind me. I was finally able to turn my head slightly, and I saw the creature. He liked one of the images that you see of the little gray aliens, except it's taller. I started crying. I was going to pieces, yet I fought with him in my mind. Next thing you know, I'm coming to on the barracks floor. It was 5 a.m. My bunkmate was yelling at me, shouting, "What the heck happened to you?" He actually shouted something else, but I don't want to say it on the radio. My bunkmate said that he looked for me after I'd gone to bed and I wasn't there.
Wow.
He thought that I'd gone AWOL.
Oh my gosh.
He said, "I was surprised. I thought that it was an out-of-body thing that happened to me, but apparently it was in the body."
Right.
I was completely covered in sweat. It was puddled on the floor from the top of my head to the soles of my shoes. He said that I could have been run out. I had red splotches as well as black spots completely covering my body.
Oh my God.
He said my eyes were dilated and completely black. My bunkmate didn't want to see my face. It was too contorted. He tried to keep me away from the mirror.
Really?
Yeah. He said, "You have to understand, I was pure military, a Marine, a U.S. Marine. We don't cry, we don't shake. It's so abstract. So abstract for my buddy to find me in such a condition." He helped me get my clothes off, dragged me to the shower. I was a basket case for 6 hours. It was the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life.
Oh my God.
And I'd been in Vietnam. Said I ended up staying in my room the whole day. Thankfully, I was on leave, so I had that luxury. It took me about a week to get my mind back to where I wasn't completely engulfed with fear and confusion. And then he talks a little bit about, since he's all the years that have gone past, and how he couldn't tell anybody, that he tried to tell his, his commanding officers, and that they seemed to know more about this than he thought that anybody. He thought he would be telling them something that they were going to put him into the loony bin over, and they actually seemed to know what he was talking about.
Well, that's interesting.
But encouraged him to never talk publicly about it.
Right, yeah. But they knew something that's happened before.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's a good, what I would consider a very good experiencer case.
Yep.
Some of them are very different from that. Some are all, some are like E.T. and,
right. Yeah.
Positive. They're not all like that.
It's as if they know how much to take from you or whatever, how much you may handle or not handle. You think?
Yeah. I think perhaps the military are dealt with differently than the person on the street. If you're a warrior, you may have a different, they may have a different tactic.
Right. Well, that sounds right. My God, I don't know, but my gosh, it sounds like that would work. That would be the category that they would go with, of course. I mean,
anyway, there's 3 good cases for you.
I'm
I've got many more. I mean, I've personally closed. We're up, heading up on 700 cases right now. Out of those, I've got like 50 some that are interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Now, what do you call them? Cold cases, or do you call them like non-closed cases? And where do those cases go? Do they go into a big file, computer?
They go into the CMS, which is the computer management system of Mufon. Technically, we do close cases after 3 months, but experiencer cases, cases where people have multiple sightings where it seems to be ongoing, we do write addendums in the file, and many of these files, my addendums go on, longer than the file itself.
So when you meet again with these folks, are they still as open as they were before, or do they start clamming up? Or, I mean,
depends on the person.
Yeah.
I've had some cases. I had, it seems like the military cases, especially, that it could be very difficult for people to come forward, and they get scared. And some of them are multi-generational, especially with experiencer cases. It's the usual for an experiencer case to have started with the grandparent and the parent, and now a lot of these people are worried about their own children or grandchildren.
Yes.
Because it does seem to be a familial phenomenon where they're interested in certain bloodlines. With the military, it may be a little different. I think that they're interested in how we are able to kill our own.
Yeah.
Seems to be something that our visitors are kind of shocked at. Apparently, that's not a real normal thing in the universe.
That's interesting. How much we destroy and destruct and hate.
Yeah.
My gosh.
I think that, we see a lot of people that are given messages where, it's like about environmental catastrophe. People are left with messages about nuclear catastrophe. People like Robert Salas, who's a personal friend, where he watched his nuclear base he was commanding officer of. He watched every single ballistic missile go offline and then come back online while they were being hovered over by a large, football-shaped UFO. It seems that this has happened in the former Soviet Union as well. I wouldn't be surprised if every country that has nuclear capacity has experienced something like this, because it's a concern to our visitors.
Well, they've just zapped them out. They can. God, how much interest
Yeah,
is in
yeah.
it.
Well, I think I wonder if it affects their universe. You know, if it's an interdimensional phenomenon, and I'm open to that.
Oh, maybe so.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
Oh,
we
my
might
God.
be blowing up a nuclear, experimenting with a nuclear bomb in the middle of our desert, but that might be the middle of their, Las Vegas or something.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't know.
let me give this number out one more time and see if we can get somebody. We lost a couple of people here, but listen, we'll try it again.
To call UFO Talk Radio, The Glenn Larry Show, deep in the dark desert of Nevada, call 702-874-1114. North of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. West of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. And south of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. And east of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. First-time callers, call 702-874-1114. And if you just want to talk to the Glenn Larry Show, call 702-874-1114. And now, back to the Glenn Larry Show.
Yeah, we're back. Oh, my gosh. Oh, so much been said tonight, and what a great show with Earl Grey Anderson. Oh, my God, UFO. Mufon, man, he's investigating and much more, I'll tell you. And I'm open the lines again. We missed a couple folks. I'm sorry. It gets so interesting, and a lot of people won't call because it is so interesting. They won't interrupt the show. I understand, man. That's good. So we're leaving the lines.
Go ahead and interrupt the show, you guys.
Yeah, man.
Glenn, I'm going to do a quick bathroom break.
You go. You go. I'm gonna talk.
Give me like 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
You got it. Yeah, I'd like to also thank out there Sheldon Battery helps us out quite a bit. If you want to know about batteries, give them a call 702-362-8180. Tina's hair and extensions in color. Thank you. I need a haircut. I know I do, and she's going to cut it. I'll tell you for sure. And I love Tina. She asks about anything about hair. She does the best, and anything about hair. I mean, sometimes you got to ask somebody, right? 702-591-0033. That's if you're in the Las Vegas area. And I think she does make some house calls. Yeah, she's a great lady. Of course, Ray's Honey is always on my website. Good honey. I had no allergies this year because of my local honey, Ray's Honey. And you want to know about honey and how it works, call Ray, 702-885-1260. And that guy can tell you anything about honey. Yes. Boy, so much about UFOs, what's going on, from abductees to contactees to close encounters, 1, 2, and 3. My gosh. Do you have a story? Was it happened to you? Well, it happened to me several times. And I listen to Earl, what he has to say about being anything about UFOs, to report it, tell your story. There's so many out there, as you can tell, he investigates on, and just fascinated about these abductees. Very fascinating. And it happens more and more than you actually think it does. And it's just the average Joe or whoever it may be, it could happen to you, or has it happened to you? That's why we had the phone lines open. And please don't worry about calling. So I'm going to have them on for another 15 minutes. If you do call within that time, that's fine. If you don't, email me at glenlarry51@gmail.com. Yeah, that's me. Gosh. Oh, thank you. Here back. Okay, my friend Earl. Gosh, how fascinating is this tonight? I love it. I was a child, actually not junior high school, young man, I guess, teenager. And I used to go jogging and up the street, up a hill to a school, which had a, the playground, and had like a little football field, a little track area. And I would run around that twice and go back, and I couldn't sleep. I had legs that had to always be running, running legs, you hear about that. And so I would do that every other night if I couldn't sleep. And I passed the school clocks, and it would say like maybe 1:30, something like that. Then it would take me maybe half an hour to run back past those clocks again. School windows used to have big school windows on the playground area. Garfield School is the name of the school. And yeah. But one night at 1:00 in the morning, I came back running past those clocks after my run, and I lost time. And every one of those clocks said 5:30. Something happened. And when you talk about this time feeling everything quiet and things are kind of off a little bit, just synchronized, not actually there, something's wrong. Those are the feelings that I had that night. I'll never forget it. And it's I don't know. It had to be something like that. I don't remember anything happening, but I remember, gosh, going by those clocks. What I had seen before that, some UFO experiences and stuff, but oh, see what we've got here. They're trying to call on the same line. It's 1114, everybody. 702-874-1114. They're trying to call on the other line, so that's not going to work. You got to call the 1114 line because the 113 is being an interview line. So, but anyway, Earl, from here you get more investigation come your way, reports from everybody. Do you have a staff at all?
Oh yeah, we have quite a few field investigators here in Southern California. Up until recently, the Mufon's headquarters was here. Now we've moved Mufon headquarters back to Hainer 1. You know, was in Chicago, or I'm sorry, not Chicago, in Ohio, where it originally was. So, but we do have. I mean, Southern California, it's very interesting. We have more UFO reports that come out of Southern California and Northern California than anywhere else in the world. I'm not sure exactly, why this is. Cheryl and Linda Costa, who have done this wonderful UFO sightings desk reference,
right?
Which is, yes, it's all about statistics and UFOs and what people see and where they see them, and for some reason California always comes up on top. We do have a lot of aerospace out here. There's a lot of military facilities.
Right.
There's
our caller. Let's bring the caller on. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
Go ahead, caller. You are on live with the Glenn Larry Show and Earl. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. My name's Steve. I'm calling from Santa Rosa, California. I'm listening on YouTube.
Hello.
And
hang on. Go ahead, sir. Where are you from again? What's your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Steve, and from Santa Rosa, California.
Okay, Steve.
And I'm listening on YouTube.
All right.
Anyway,
hi, Steve.
Hi. I didn't really get abducted or nothing like that, but and you may know about this that went on, Earl. In 1974, we used to be able to go and watch up in Mendocino County these things fly up the coast, and it was like clockwork every night at sunset. In a formation, we contacted the sheriff's department. They said, we don't know what it is. There's a small Coast Guard station there. They said, yeah, we know about it, but we don't know what they are. And there was never any explanation. So after about the third night of watching these things fly down the coast, or up the coast rather, they were going from south to north. My friend and I had this was up in the country. We had just gotten back to the ranch I lived on, and we saw this light fly across the sky, and it stopped right above us. It was up at some considerable height, so I couldn't get any detail. But then all of a sudden, it kind of twinkled a little bit, and it was just a streak in the sky and gone. And I don't know what you've been talking about tonight. Maybe they were just, because we were watching them, they were giving us another show. I don't.
When you say that it winked out and it disappeared, what direction was it going?
It was going from west to east.
Oh, okay. So it just kind of went into the vanishing point then.
Pardon?
It kind of was lost in the vanishing point at the end.
It went faster than anything I could ever imagine. It almost left a light streak for our vision. It went so fast, and we both saw the same thing.
Well, you know that these reports that are coming out from the Navy right now that they're clocking these objects in at Mach 18. It's 18 times the speed of sound. And this is one of the things that, I've been seeing them, they've been bringing the Tyson guy and, other skeptics to talk about it. Thankfully, Michio Kaku is one PhD astronomer who they bring on. At least he's open-minded.
Oh, yes.
But Neil deGrasse Tyson was just saying, oh, well, there's something wrong with the Navy's equipment. And it's like, well, I'm sorry. No, these were observed naked eye by the best pilots. These are our Top Gun pilots. If they're imagining stuff, then we're in trouble. I mean, what if they imagine seeing a nuclear weapon go off? Or they imagine, no, these are the best observers that we have in our country. They had naked eye observations. They had computer observations. Radar they were originally seen on the radar. My friend Kevin Day was the guy that was on the Princeton, and they were watching this happen for a week. But there were multiple objects going from low Earth orbit down to sea level and then shooting back up again.
Wow.
They should have been causing all kinds of sonic booms. The speed that they were traveling, they were doing 180-degree turns. They should have been creating fireballs. If they were going according to Newtonian physics anyway, just energy compensation and But
you there?
Oh, I think our guy is.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I hear you.
Well, anyway, okay, but what they've been describing is not something that humans
make.
As far as we know,
ours.
we can't
Yeah.
do this.
They're not ours. No. Do you think they might be controlled by some type of robotic type of thing, maybe too, or can these beings actually survive? Are there drones checking on us? I've thought about all this myself, but yeah, I don't think they're. Yeah, I was sitting outside one night and there was a very bright planet out there, and then this guy was another bright planet or star, what have you. And I said, I'd just really like to see something. Come on, guys, show me something. I was saying this to myself and in my mind and concentrating out there,
Careful what you ask for.
And, well, let me tell you, my friend, and as you know what you went through, they gave me that. Went from this bright light went from one star or planet to the other, stopped and went right back real fast. I go, my gosh, did I just think I saw that? No, I saw it. It was really real. Unbelievable. It works. This Stephen Greer thing, he's got going. The what'd you call it? The CRT. What'd you call it? You called this?
It's a CE5.
CE5, yeah.
Thing. This is what, and he's been and I'm not. I'm just going to mention you don't have to pay anybody to do CE5. You can do it on your own.
Yeah.
I didn't pay Stephen Greer anything to do it. I just got into a meditative state and asked to see them, and it worked a little too well in my case. I mean, next time, well, I don't think I'm going to try it again, but if I go back and then change what I did, I would have said, yeah, I sort of want to meet the humanoid guys that are not to paralyze me and maybe, be a little more familial and kind about the encounter. As it was, I felt sort of like a lab rat, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I got what I asked for,
Right.
and I didn't delineate what I was hoping for, and it's real. I know that it happened.
Yeah. Well, Earl, I want to thank you so very much for being on the show, on the Glenn Larry Show. Earl Grey Anderson, and you can look him up on the internet. He has his own website too, and he has.
Actually, I'm on Facebook.
Okay,
That's
good.
how you can get a hold of that. If you go to Early G-E-E URLIEGEE on Facebook. We'll go, if you do it like the, slash that, we'll take you to me. Or I'm just the Earl Grey that's the Mufon field investigator. It'll pop up for you.
Good.
So,
and you're going
it's a pretty popular page.
And you're going to be in Las Vegas in August.
Yes.
And that date will.
And you can also go to MufonLosAngeles.com is another way to, get on our mailing list if you'd like to be on our local mailing list. We are going to be starting up face-to-face meetings again. We have wonderful speakers like, Paul Hynek, Greg Bishop, Robert Salas, Denise Marcel. We have wonderful speakers. We just got the okay from somebody who I'm not going to mention by name yet, but we are going to start face-to-face meetings again. So if you go to MufonLosAngeles.com, do join our mailing list, and we'll let you know when we're doing local stuff together again.
Well, again, I deeply thank you, and I want to have you on again. It's just been such a pleasure, and gosh, you're fun to talk to and easy to interview. I'll tell you that.
Thank you, sir. I love doing your show. This is really a wonderful show, and I feel honored that you had me on, and so glad that you'd like to have me back on. I'm certainly interested in coming back and talking more because I have lots of UFO cases to talk about.
And I want to hear it. So do my people out there, all that's listening. And I'm sure that we have a lot of email about this already. It's coming up, and I got a lot of views on the radio side. Canada's big tonight. Oh my gosh. So they must know you there. Again, thank you so much, and be safe. And may the best of the spirits be with you, and be safe, please.
You too, my friend.
All right, God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless you, Dave.